Buying a home. Buying a home is one of the most terrifying things you could ever do in your life. But why are people afraid? Because it's the unknown. Everybody's afraid they're gonna make that one mistake that's gonna cost them thousands of dollars. Or they're gonna make that mistake that's gonna cost them their entire life savings. But now there's plenty of mistakes that you can make, but today I'm gonna be covering the top 3 most common mistakes when buying a home. Now these are gonna be absolutely crucial for you to know when you're buying a home, and you can use this advice no matter what the market looks like or in any season. So let's get into it. Now this isn't going to be a video of all of the basics that you've heard before from your roommates, cousins, aunties, dog walker who lives down the street. Now this is going to be real advice that you can use. Now the first most common mistake that I see is simply using the pre-approval or pre-qualification letter you got from your mortgage loan officer or mortgage broker as the basis for how much you can afford when buying a home. Not exactly. Now if you were to talk to a loan officer or a real estate agent, they're going to tell you, sure, yes, you qualify for X amount of dollars. Because when it comes to buying a house, and if you're a W-2 borrower, which most of us are, they'll be using the gross monthly income, which is the income you earn before taxes and insurance and whatever else. And how they determine if you qualify is that they're going to take your gross monthly income and they're going to divide it by the debts that you owe on a monthly basis. Now, if it's a conventional loan, you can go up to about a 50% ratio. And if it's FHA, you can go up to approximately 55. And the truth is, they don't give a damn about your budget. All they're gonna do is qualify you for the highest amount that you can so they can get you into a home as soon as possible so they can collect that check. Now the formula they use to calculate this is they're gonna take your gross monthly income, they're gonna multiply it by 0.50, and whatever that number is, they're gonna subtract it from your monthly debts. And they're not going to take the entire balance. They're only going to subtract what the minimum payments are. Now, when it comes to debt calculation, they're not going to take your phone bill, your Hulu, and your Netflix into consideration. They're only taking your minimum credit card payments, your car payments, student loans, pretty much anything that's borrowed against your Social Security. So let's say you make about $6,000 gross monthly income. Say you have about $400 in minimum payments. So since you're trying to qualify for a conventional loan, for example, we're gonna take the $6,000 multiplied by 0.50, that's $3,000. Then you're gonna subtract the $400 in minimum debts that you have. Then you know that you qualify for a total monthly payment of $2,600. And you're gonna think like, oh man, now it's time to go shopping. I'm gonna get me a mansion. But this is kind of crazy because you know you're not making $6,000 a month. After taxes and insurance or whatever other deductions you have, you're probably taking home $4,000, $4,500 tops. Now a $2,600 payment won't be half of your income. It'll be about 58% of your total income. That, my friend, we call house broke. Now you don't want to put yourself in a position where more than half of the income that you rely on for yourself and for your family is already being used mostly on the home. So what do? When you get that pre-approval letter from your lender, understand that they qualified you at the max using your gross monthly income. Now, you never want to be at the very top of that ratio. So it might be a good practice for you to do some thinking before you speak to a lender. Go home, sit down with your partner, your parents, your family member, a friend that you trust, and think about budgeting. You should write down what your expenses are, what your monthly income is, and how much of that income you can allocate towards a monthly payment. So here's a question. What percentage of your income should be used towards your monthly payment? In my opinion, you should stick somewhere around that 25% mark. I think that that's going to be the sweet spot for most people. At least at the 25% mark, you have a lot of margin for an emergency. If something were to happen in your home and you needed extra funds to take care of it, if you're too busy paying most of your income towards a home, then you won't be able to take care of these emergencies. And we know in today's world, there's an emergency around every corner. Anyways, so for me and my household, I have 2 little ones. Because of that, I like to keep my housing expense as low as possible, because you don't know what kind of emergencies or any kind of healthcare emergencies they might have, or anything, honestly. I'm just saying, take the time to really think about what you can or cannot afford as a bottom line. Because a lot of people go in and they're unprepared. They'll go talk to a real estate agent or a loan officer, and they'll get caught up in the whirlwind, and then all of a sudden they're living above their means. And those people will not be there to make your monthly payment for you. And I'm not talking bad about them. I'm just saying you have to look out for yourself first. You are responsible for your own destiny. Now, the second biggest mistake that I see amongst home buyers is going to be kind of in relation to the first one, but really it's about savings. And the truth is, get your savings together. So what you're going to be told is you're going to need your down payment, you're going to need your closing costs, you're going to need a couple hundred here and there to cover the appraisal, home inspection. Sure, that's all well and fine and absolutely true, but it's not as easy as that. But truthfully, if you're just going to do what you're told or that you hear from other people, it's not going to be as effective as you actually taking the time to prepare for this big change in your life. Of course, have your down payment ready. If it's going to be FHA, you're going to have 3.5% down. If it's a conventional loan, you'll have 5, 10, 20% down, sometimes 3%. If you're a VA, no money down, or have 100% down and buy the house cash. And yes, in this market, you definitely need to have your closing costs saved up. That'll be anywhere between 2 to 3% of the purchase price, give or take, depending on the taxes in the area, so on and so forth. But this shouldn't be your only savings. I mean, there's going to be different categories to it, so this will just be your house savings by itself. The mistake that I see is you should have your house savings, and what most people don't prepare for is emergency savings. Now, your number one main priority savings should be your emergency savings. Now, this is the savings that you have in case anything happens. This should be completely separate from your house savings, because you never know what's going to happen. I always tell people when they're buying a home, if you're going to have your emergency savings, make sure you have 2, 3, 4, maybe up to 6 months in reserves for just that purpose, only for emergencies or whatever may happen. You can't blow your entire savings on the purchase of a home and just expect that, oh, you know, I'll make it up after I buy the home and everything's going to be fine. That's not the truth. That's not preparing your family for the future. So now, with your emergency savings, and why I always tell people to always have one, is because you never know what's going to happen. What if you're driving to go sign papers for your new home and you get into a car accident? The point is that you never know what's going to happen next. Or additionally, you know, you might find yourself in this market here in 2022 where you're bidding on a home and you can't get your offer accepted, and the listing agent wants you to put in an extra $2,000, $3,000, $10,000 to get your offer accepted. It's ugly, but that's the situation that we're in. Overall, my opinion is make sure you have your house savings completely separate from your emergency savings. The third biggest mistake that I see when home buyers are buying a home is not having their timeline set up. So what does that mean? So most people are like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna call my cousin, he's a realtor, and I'm gonna ask him how the market is. Well, in relation to problem 2 and 1, the point is be prepared to ask these questions and do the research before you get in front of a realtor or before you get in front of a loan officer. Here's how the timeline goes for all of those that don't really know the flow of buying a home and the time that it will take. So here it is. Pre-qualifying. That'll take about 1 to 2 weeks for you to gather up all of your documentation, get it over to the lender, let them run your credit and structure your loan. The second phase is the home showing phase. That'll take anywhere between 0 to 2 months. You could be lucky, and maybe the first offer you put in, it gets accepted. But in my experience, that's not today. And then the third phase is being under contract. Now, when it comes to a home escrow, that'll range anywhere between 30 to 45 days before you can call the home your own. Now that is the timeline, but you should always leave room to have wrenches thrown into your plans. Even if you were to go all the way back to the pre-qualification stage where you're getting pre-qualified, what if at that time you find out that your credit is a little challenged? So then fixing your credit or getting it to where it needs to be, that could be a process that could take 1, 2, 3, maybe even 6 months to fix before you even decide that you're even able to find a home. Or even before considering this timeline, you might think, oh my gosh, I have 2 weeks before my lease is up on my apartment, I should buy a home. I'll tell you right now, it's not gonna happen. This should have been happening 2, 3, 4 months ago, and you should have been saving for the past 6, 7, 8 months to a year. By having all of this knowledge, you'll be able to make an informed decision when you're buying your home. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're talking to your realtor and your realtor's telling you like, hey, this is the home and you need to make an offer right now, then you can tell your real estate agent, well, you know what, according to my timeline, I'm actually 2 or 3 months ahead and I'm not going to make an offer if it's not the home that I love. Or on the other side of the timeline, if you're running out of time and your lease is going to be up on your apartment, then you need to find a home yesterday. So in that case, you need to start finding something to buy now. The idea is that if you know your timeline, you can better execute your home buying process. Alright guys, that was my top 3 most common mistakes when buying a home. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, make sure to drop it in the comments. Or if you have any advice for any future home buyers, please drop that in the comments as well and share the knowledge. But thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. Bye.